Hey everybody, welcome here to Musicians Edition. I'm Evan, and in this video we're going to be talking about guitar pedals and finding the ones that are the right fit for you. So I have a previous video from a while ago that goes into an introduction into guitar pedals, more about like what the different effects do and what like pieces you need to buy, like the power supplies and the chords to go along with it. So if you are brand new to guitar pedals, I recommend checking that video out first as an introduction getting into it. This video is going to be more about personalizing your pedal board and making sure you know which ones are the right fit for you to get if you're just starting out or as an intermediate player. So let's get into this. There's a couple ways that you might hear about finding out how to start looking into these pedals. You can look at different genres that you want to play and see what's common. You can also look at what your favorite guitarists use. You can look at their pedal boards. You can find pictures of them online. You can look at equipboard.com, and that's a good way to find like all the different pedals and effects and guitars your favorite guitarists use as a kind of starting point. But you'll see they use very expensive pedals. They have huge pedal boards. Something that looks like this is pretty common for a professional guitarist or a guy who is just willing to spend a lot of money on his equipment. And it's not that easy to get into this because you see that and it's intimidating. It's a lot of money. That is thousands of dollars spent on a pedal board that you might not have, that I don't have to spend on pedals. So we're gonna look at a way to get easier into this and kind of simplify this a bit. So, if I had all the money in the world to spend on guitar pedals, I would get, a little one of everything, of something to use on every off chance, or, something that might just come up in certain situations, which is what our favorite guitarists do because they are paid to do it. So they might have a full pedal board that has every one of things like this. And working our way, we have a tuner, compression, distortion with an overdrive and fuzz. We would have EQ. We can get our modulators with phaser, flanger, chorus, tremolo, wahs, octaves as well too, and then the reverb and delay at the end there, and finishing with a looper pedal added onto the end there. And that could be a full, extensive list that could cover everything we might ever want to do as a guitarist, essentially. But that is so complicated. All these things have different effects that we need to learn. They're all so expensive because it's one pedal for each of these things that the hardcore guitarists will really get by the end, the ones who are advanced players. So how can we simplify this and make it more accessible for us? So that's what we're going to look at here. So it is still very possible to meet our goals as a guitarist and get the sound we're looking for just by getting 1 to 2 or 3 pedals to really get going here. And that's really all I recommend for the people who are getting into this, because again, you want to learn each of those pedals and figure out what it's bringing to your sound, if they're the right fit, before you really get an extensive pedal board. So we're going to look at some ways to do that and really just how to find the right fit for you. You'll find a lot of videos, articles talking about the essential pedals, the ones you absolutely need, but they are not you. They don't know what style you play. They don't know what kind of player you are, but I'm going to try to help you, just give you a bit of a guide, depending on what styles that you usually play, and help you prioritize what you might need first. So by genre and style, this is my guide of the kind of essential pedals that are used very frequently. So we can see it goes by genre, starting off from the ones that are the softest, usually with the least effects, going up to the ones that do get the hardest, that don't sound like a traditional guitar that much anymore with all the distortion and fuzz added on there. Then you can see going down the list, we actually have this going in a typical pedal chain there. So we often start with our compressor, going into our distortions or fuzz, and then ending up with our modulators and then reverb and delay at the end. So this is kind of a common chain that we'll have. But depending on what style you play, you don't use all of these. You don't need all of these. So look at the genres that you will most often be playing. It could be one or multiple, and you want to prioritize the ones that are most frequently used in those, because it's all about when you are playing by yourself, trying to emulate the sound you hear in your favorite song and how the guitar sounds. So if your favorite songs use a bit of distortion, if your favorite songs use a lot of delays, those are the pedals you really want. And so we're going to go off of those genres and styles and really just what you hear for what we want to prioritize. So in jazz and R&B, it's a lot of just compressor. It's a clean sound coming out of that guitar usually. You can optionally use some overdrive to get a little bit of that distortion going, but it's often not that much. We can have optional reverb and delay if we want to fill that space a bit more. But jazz is really just straightforward with a lot of just compression to boost the signal and make sure it's a lot of level playing. So that's a good starting point. With that optional overdrive, delay, reverb if you want to add a bit more extra to it. In blues, the standards there being you have a compressor going into an overdrive. Those are the most common pedals that we'll use in blues. Again, we have optional delay, we have optional reverb depending on what fits the space there. Whether it's you playing by yourself, you have a bit more room to play out with the space, so you can use delays and reverbs. But if you're with a band, you got to be careful you're not overtaking the other instruments. So you might not have those, especially not as strong when you're playing with others on blues. For country, we'll look at the same too. We will often have that compressor, we'll often have that overdrive. Delays are very often used in country, so getting a good delay is something that you might want to look into. Reverb, again, as optional for country. Moving on to funk, that compression is optional, but I think it's always kind of a good tool to have to boost that signal to make sure you get a consistent sound. What we really have more in funk is the modulators. And so that is the wah, that is the chorus, phaser, flanger, those kind of effects that give the guitar its more unique sound. So those are the ones I'd look into if you're interested in funk. And for rock, because rock is such an expansive and a lot of variety going on in the genre, because you could be hard rock, indie rock, soft rock, and any one of those things really. But it is the one that uses the most pedals typically and the biggest variety of pedals. And so we'll often have that compression. We'll often have two or one of a combination of overdrive, distortion, and fuzz. Sometimes just one, sometimes pairing two of those together. More optional ones being the modulators. We don't always use them, kind of depends on the style. Some rock music, of course, we use modulators, but not all of it. And finishing up with delay and reverb. These are really common in certain areas of rock, not as much in like hard rock to be using a lot of reverb, but delay and reverb usually typically common in a lot of the types of rock. And last one, metal. In metal, we often don't get too flashy with our sound. We just get as much grit added on there as we can. And so that means we need a compressor. That means we need distortion. That means we likely need fuzz, but it's optional if you can get enough of it there just with your distortion. And our last option one there being the delay. So look at our full chart here. Look at the genres or styles that you usually play. The ones that have a lot of crossover, in the different styles you want to play is especially what you want to look at getting first. And I'll give you my recommendation. Usually the first kind of pedal you always get is either an overdrive or a distortion. I'd really recommend getting a good like blues driver type pedal, something like this here. I also have a really good overdrive that is an Archer. So any one of these are called clone pedals, where you can get anything from a pretty clean boost all the way up to pretty solid distortion with it. So it can cover you from jazz and R&B all the way up through rock if you play multiple of those or really any one of those. A good overdrive that can go from nice clean sound with boost all the way up to that hard distortion is usually the number one pedal that we recommend. So again, a blues driver type pedal, one of the Archers or the Klon type pedals. There's also the Soul Food pedal, which is a really common one. Those are usually the number one recommendation for people to first get. After that, compression, obviously super, super common. You can see it crossing over in all these different genres along with overdrive. Compression is great at giving you extra boost and also leveling out the playing of your sound so it all sounds more equally the same volume, which is really what you want. If you want it less dynamic and making sure that like your softer playing is still closer to the same volume as your really high playing, it just makes it for a more even sound. So especially in a band, you're always kind of coming through it around the same volume level. Compressors are really good for that, or just boost pedals. So I have just a nice yellow comp. Compressors can go for usually under $50, and just a really easy way to give yourself some extra boost to really help you cut through if you're playing with other instruments especially too. So a compressor with an overdrive is usually a really good starting point to get going. Another one that is really commonly we can see across genres is that delay pedal. The delay pedal is really great because you can use it in a lot of different ways and help fill up space in a track. You can do long echoes or delays, or really tight and shorter delays depending on the style you're going for. And these different styles will usually use those different kinds of delays depending on what they're playing. So country using a lot of those quicker kind of twangy delays versus other ones like R&B where you have a lot of open space. You might want your guitar to be more airy and echoing for that one. And so I usually recommend delay over reverb if you're looking at one or the other. First of all, most amps usually have an onboard reverb that is good enough. Whereas delay, if they have one, it's usually not much you can mess around with because it might all just be on one knob. So getting a dedicated delay pedal is usually a good idea, especially before the reverb. And those three, the compressor, the overdrive, and the delay, they're usually the first kind of pedals that I'd recommend you looking at. Unless you are looking at one of these specific genres like funk, then I'd really recommend you get those modulators. Or like rock or metal, then I really recommend you look more at like distortion or fuzz. But some things that cross just a lot of these genres is a good compressor, a good overdrive, and a good delay. But of course, you make those decisions depending on what you have. If you're satisfied with how any one of those things already sound on your amp, if you have those effects, or if you're just not hearing them in a lot of the music that you play, then obviously you don't need them. But this is, I think, a good general guide for people to start getting going and figure out what they need at the beginning of trying to get pedals. So we had that long list from earlier of kind of everything and every effect you might be looking at. We can definitely cross off some of these that we really just don't need to be concerned about right now. You know, EQ, we really don't need to worry about it, especially just starting to get into this. You're not fine-tuning and sculpting your sound. You're just trying to figure out what these effects do and how they can improve your sound. Your amp likely has some EQ features with like high, mid, low knobs. Distortions and overdrives usually have like knobs that you can use to tweak EQ a little bit too. So having one dedicated pedal for it, you really don't need to worry about starting off. As well as like the octaves, that's more of a niche pedal that's not really used widely, so we can X that one out as well too. And then all those modulators you see here, the wah, the chorus, the phaser, the flanger, tremolo, all those things, we can really just group those into one multi-effects pedal, and that's really what I'd recommend as opposed to getting one dedicated pedal for each of those effects. So if you're a funk player or you are interested in getting into those modulators, they're used in, you know, different indie rock genres as well too. One multi-effects pedal is really common to just kind of combine all of those together. And so that could be something like this White Wizard multi-effects pedal that I have. It has wah, tremolo, phaser, flanger, chorus, all that stuff, and I can just kind of switch between them as I want to. So if you're playing live and you do need like one dedicated pedal for that you can just switch on and off, then that's your own unique scenario. But for most of us bedroom guitar players, getting one multi-effects pedal to do all those, if we're interested in it, is a great way to cut down on all these, because I can get one pedal for $50 that does them all, as opposed to one pedal for each one of those that I have to have the space and money for. So that's another great way we cut these down. We talked about the compressor, we talked about overdrive, distortion, and fuzz. You're usually going to start off just getting one of those, overdrive, distortion, or fuzz. Hard rock players, you might be combining two of them, but usually just start with one that's going to be the main effect you use. And again, for most players, I recommend that overdrive. Just if you're more in the hard rock realm, you might want to go more than that. All right, we talked about delay and reverb as well too, and that is the last of our actual effects pedals. The last two you do see on this list is the tuner and the looper, and these are more hardware type pedals that serve a function as opposed to changing the effect of your guitar. If you're not familiar with those, I'll go over them really quickly here and decide if you might need those too. So for a tuner, example is this, like this Polytune here, you do need to play in tune. It is a necessity. You need to find some way to make sure you can play in tune, and a tuner pedal is just kind of like an easy, quick way to make sure you are, but it's not necessary, especially when you can just go on your phone and get a free app that can be a tuner for you as well too. It's a little less quick to have to pull out your phone and open the app and do it that way, as opposed to just having something on your board that you can click on. But it's really your call if you want a budget to buy a $25 to $50 tuner to have on your board. If you are playing live and you need kind of quick adjustments like that to make sure you're always in tune throughout the performance, then sure. But for most of us, I really don't think it's needed. You can always just do the free phone app. You can buy just a regular tuner that is not a pedal that is super cheap too, just on Amazon. So I don't really see it as much of a necessity other than you need to play in tune. So just find some way to keep yourself in tune, whether you can do it by ear, using a phone app, or whatever it is. The other hardware one I actually am a big fan of, and that's a looper pedal. Looper pedal I think is great for really any bedroom guitarist or anyone who has aspirations of playing with other people in a band or just jamming out with them. I think it's a great way to get out of your own world and practice playing along with something else, because if you just play by yourself, you're really good at keeping your own time and your own pace and doing whatever it is that you want, but you're not really good at following someone else's lead, and that's what a looper pedal is really good at. Number one, you can record yourself into that looper pedal and play over yourself. You can play over drums, you can play over a metronome. You can also just record yourself in there and then mess around with all your other effects afterwards. So you can record a loop first, have it just replay over and over and over again, and then have your looper go into like your new overdrive pedal, your new delay pedal, and just tweak all the knobs on there, mess around with them so you can figure out what they all do and how they actually affect your sound more live without you having to play at the same time. So I think a looper is great, a great way to start like recording and overdubbing over yourself, a great way to play with drums because you don't want to go into a jam session with other people and just not know how to keep up. And so it's a great way to kind of get your first step into that if you're looking to do that in the future. In loopers, I have this Boss loop station. It works great. There's a bunch of cheap loopers that really get the job done. Somewhere around like the $50 up to $100 for kind of the better ones. Price point is good for a looper, and so it's a good one you can add to your pedal chain if you are interested. All right, and I think that really covers everything as far as these pedals go. So go back and look at all those genres and kind of figure out those essential pieces. You can always look at, again, what your favorite guitarists are using and look at those cheaper versions of them, but really try to stick with, if it's your first couple pedals, those really common effects that you would want to make sure you have down before you get that just big pedal board that does a bunch of stuff, because you're just going to end up with a bunch of stuff you don't actually know how to use and have to dedicate a lot of time to figuring out what they do for your sound. So really focus on just a couple at a time. Make sure you mess with all those knobs and figure out what they do so you can tune it in to get the different sounds you're looking for. And that is personalizing your pedal board there. And just one last thing, don't think that pedals are going to make up for a crappy amp too much. If you are still on that introductory $50 amp, then honestly that's usually the first upgrade I recommend before you do go into pedals. You need a good amp that can get you a nice clean sound as you're kind of just canvas that you're going to be adding more onto. So if your amp is crappy, you can add pedals and you can change your sound, but it's still not really going to sound how you want, I don't think. So usually leveling up to a mid-tier amp, somewhere in the $150 to $300 range, somewhere around there is usually like the first step before you look into pedals, because you need decent like onboard distortion versus like the clean and crunch effects. And then if you have any additional effects like the EQ or like onboard reverb, then those are just kind of a bonus for you. But you need just clean sound coming out of your amp before you're going to worry about attaching pedals to it, because you're kind of prioritizing the wrong things at that point. So when you have a decent amp that you're pretty okay with the sound coming out of it and you just need those added effects coming in with it, that's when you start to look at pedals and you can really start to build out that board like this. Again, we talked about those most common ones. Depending on your genre, your style, that's usually a good overdrive or a good distortion if you're more hard rock. Looking at those compressors, those delays, if you're interested in those modulators, depending on your style as well too. And I think that's it, covering it for pedals here for us. So again, I'm Evan here at Musicians Edition. Go ahead and check out again my previous video on pedals if you need help with what other equipment to buy, those power cords, those connection cords between the pedals. Make sure you are familiar with those things and how those work. You want to make sure you're not plugging the wrong power connector into your pedal because you could fry it. So make sure you do understand, is it going to need a battery? Is it going to need a power cord that I have to get? So you are prepared for when those pedals do come in. And that is all. So have fun playing, have fun shopping for those pedals, and I hope it is not too stressful for you. I hope this is able to help you guys out, and we'll see you next time here at Musicians Edition.